The woman who once stood beside Jeff Bezos may have committed what some call the greatest betrayal in billionaire history, and what followed shocked even those closest to him. It began with whispers that drifted through Wall Street secret meetings. Behind closed doors, strange movements in the flow of Amazon stock. At first, analysts brushed it aside, thinking it was nothing more than the routine shuffle of a billionaire moving his assets. But then a file appeared a leak that stunned Jeff Bezos, left him angry, humiliated, and betrayed. The leaked file suggested that Lauren Sánchez, the glamorous partner once seen as part of Bezos' world, had quietly shifted more than $3 billion worth of Amazon stock without his direct consent. $3 billion gone as if into the night, and it was not only money at stake, it was power, influence, and identity. Insiders whispered that Bezos felt his empire slipping from his hands. Imagine the scene late night at his mansion in Seattle, the glow of a monitor casting a pale blue light across the room, his finance team rushing in, their voices low, their faces pale as they struggled to explain what had happened. Bezos frozen as the numbers flashed before his eyes. Billions gone, he slammed his fist on the table glass, shattering, whispering again and again, "How could she do this? How could she do this to me?" This was not just betrayal of trust. It was the betrayal of an empire for Bezos. It was personal. The woman he once defended, the woman who flew with him into space, now stood accused of undermining his world. And then the whispers grew louder. Hedge fund managers began noticing unusual shifts, massive blocks of stock vanishing without announcement or explanation. And soon an anonymous envelope arrived at a financial newsroom. Inside was a USB drive with files marked by Bezos' initials, time-stamped and coded when analysts studied them. The truth began to unfold. The trades were not random. They were deliberate, precise, and all led back to Lauren Sánchez. Sources suggested she had been planning this for months, meeting quietly with advisors who knew the markets well, arranging calls through encrypted servers in Switzerland and the Cayman Islands. One witness even swore she had seen her meeting with a strategist known for guiding billionaires through high-stakes divorces. When asked why Lauren might take such a risk, insiders hinted it was not about money alone, but about power, about independence, and perhaps even revenge. She was said to be tired of standing in the shadow of the Bezos empire. She wanted a throne of her own, and she was not going to wait for it to be offered. She was going to take it. The drama only deepened. A leaked recording described a confrontation inside Bezos' Medina estate. He stormed into the room waving documents, his voice cracking as he accused Lauren of taking $3 billion. She sat calmly sipping wine, her words sharp and unshaken. "Your empire, Jeff. You act as if it belongs to you alone." Maybe it is time to understand it does not. Insiders said those words broke something deep within Bezos. For the first time, he saw how fragile his world truly was. And then came another twist in his despair. Jeff Bezos turned to an unlikely figure, Elon Musk, his rival in the race. To space, the man who had mocked him publicly, yet also understood betrayal. According to transcripts, Musk listened and told him simply, "Control the narrative. Strike back, make her look desperate." It was brutal advice. But in the world of billionaires, it was survival. While Bezos plotted in silence, Lauren stepped into the spotlight not in finance, but in Hollywood, dining with familiar names, mingling with celebrities and strategists. Some reports even placed her with Joe Rogan discussing media influence as if preparing for a campaign to shape public opinion. Lauren understood what Jeff sometimes overlooked in this era. It is not only wealth that matters, it is image sources then whispered of legal battles. Ahead, Bezos assembling a team of what some called legal assassins, high-powered lawyers preparing to unleash lawsuits over stock transfers. Breaches of trust and even sabotage at the heart of it lay a rumored clause in their financial agreements. A loophole that could shift billions if tested in court. The tabloids soon caught the unraveling Bezos scene in public shoulders. Heavy eyes, dim insiders said he barely slept, his once calm speeches faltering his confidence. Slipping Lauren, meanwhile, was radiant, appearing at events in gowns, smiling as cameras flashed her defiance, unshaken as if declaring to the world she was still in control. But the whispers suggested this story was far from just a breakup. Some believed Lauren was not acting. alone but with the quiet backing of rivals and Silicon Valley financiers on Wall Street. And even international power brokers reports claimed she had been seen in Dubai, London, and Tokyo, with figures who had their own reasons to see Bezos weakened. Each meeting a piece of a puzzle that hinted at something larger than personal betrayal. Soon, Bezos was said to have launched a countermove using resources available only to someone of his stature, drawing on connections with former intelligence. Officers, analysts, and private security specialists, their mission to uncover Lauren's alleged network to protect the empire before it crumbled. But this response raised its own questions. Had Bezos gone too far? Had paranoia consumed the man once? Known for calm precision, insiders described the final confrontation in his mansion. Bezos armed with recordings, documents, and photos presenting them as evidence of betrayal. Lauren at first calm, then cornered as files revealed conversations and financial transfers. But in this dramatic retelling, she held her own final card, a recording of Bezos himself, admitting to secret surveillance, a revelation that placed him in jeopardy. Any attempt to expose her would also expose him a game of chess, where every move trapped the other. And so the story closed, not with victory, but with stalemate. Jeff Bezos cornered Lauren Sánchez, still standing, the betrayal unresolved. The empire shaken insiders whisper that this is only the beginning. Because if Lauren truly plays the long game, then the richest man on earth may not only be fighting for love or money, but for the very survival of his empire. As the whispers grew into storms, Jeff Bezos found himself staring into an abyss he never thought possible. The richest man in the world brought to his knees not by governments or competitors, but by the woman he once trusted. Most insiders say the paranoia only deepened after the confrontation. He paced the halls of his estate, convinced that eyes and ears were everywhere, convinced that every phone call, every email could be another trap. And perhaps he was not wrong. Reports began to surface that Lauren Sánchez was not only moving in Hollywood circles, but had also begun whispering in the ears of politicians. Her presence at charity galas and private fundraisers became strategic, not social. Her conversations with strategists and lobbyists hinted at a calculated plan to shape influence beyond the tabloids. She wanted to redefine her image from partner to power player, and every step of her reinvention added pressure to Bezos, who watched as headlines began to shift sources. Claim Bezos responded in kind with silence, a silence that spoke louder than words. Behind that silence, though, was movement lawyers filing quiet notices. Investigators digging deeper rumors say he even called in consultants who once worked in government intelligence, the kind who specialized in tracing encrypted communications and following financial trails across borders. If true, it suggested Bezos believed this was no longer a private betrayal, but a coordinated campaign against his empire. But Lauren continued. To thrive, at least in public cameras, caught her in Beverly Hills, smiling at premieres, laughing at exclusive dinners. Insiders described her as radiant, untouched by the storm around her, while Bezos appeared tired, hunched, a man carrying the weight of humiliation. Some said this contrast alone was part of her strategy to project strength, while he appeared weakened, and then the leaks took a darker turn. Whispers of secret meetings abroad circulated in financial circles. Accounts placed Lauren in London with private equity investors in Dubai, with a billionaire known for bold takeovers in Tokyo, with executives of rival tech firms. Whether true or not, these whispers fueled the sense that she was not acting alone, but as part of a larger network. And for Bezos, that possibility turned betrayal into something closer to existential threat. Psychologists consulted by insiders suggested Bezos was spiraling. The betrayal had pierced not only his personal life, but also his identity. His confidence shaken, his judgment clouded. Friends described him as restless, calling meetings at odd hours, demanding answers that even his closest advisors could not give. One associate said he repeated the same phrase again and again, "I built all of this." And now it is slipping away. While Jeff wrestled with doubt, Lauren moved boldly into media circles. Witnesses reported dinners with producers, conversations with podcast hosts, alliances with figures who understood how to shape stories. Her strategy seemed clear shift. Public perception framed herself not as betrayer, but as victim. A woman trapped in the shadow of the world, richest man and ready to tell her side. For Bezos, the danger was twofold. The legal fight loomed. But so did the battle of narrative. Because in today's world, reputation can shift markets faster than financial moves. Every article, every interview, every whispered story could tilt the balance against him, and insiders say he knew it. Rumors began circulating of a prenup clause, a hidden line that few had ever seen clearly, but which could decide billions in the event of conflict. Lawyers described it as a time bomb, something that, depending on interpretation, could hand Lauren not only money, but leverage. Perhaps even influence over key projects. Whispers suggested she knew about it and was waiting for the right moment to use it. And so the question became, who truly held the power? Was it the man with endless wealth and lawyers, or the woman with Whispers' influence and a network that reached from Hollywood to Wall Street? The answer remained uncertain, but one thing was clear: this was no ordinary split, no ordinary scandal. It was a war played out in shadows and in lights, in courtrooms and on red carpets, and the world watched as the richest man alive faced perhaps the greatest battle of his life. The stage was now set for something bigger than a scandal. It was becoming a war. Jeff Bezos had quietly summoned his legal army, some of the most expensive lawyers on the planet, men and women who could charge millions just to attend a single meeting. They were known in circles as legal assassins, hired not for negotiation, but for destruction. Their mission was simple: dismantle Lauren Sánchez in court and protect every corner of the Bezos empire. Insiders whispered that the strategy went beyond money. This was about narrative control. The legal filings would be structured to present Bezos not as a betrayed lover, but as a victim of corporate sabotage, the richest man alive, determined to defend his company, and the jobs tied to it against a secretive plot. And in that framing, Lauren would not simply be seen as an ex-partner, but as a threat to stability. But Lauren was not idle. She had her own circle advisors, from Hollywood strategists, from politics, voices that knew how to capture headlines and spin stories. She leaned on friendships built across red carpets and private dinners. Insiders described one dinner in Los Angeles where she sat with a celebrity host and a former political consultant. The conversation, tense, voices low like a war council. Their plan, according to Whispers, was not to win in court, but to win in perception, to make Lauren appear as the strong survivor of a controlling relationship, a woman who dared to break free from the shadow of the world richest man, and soon the media began to tilt. Stories appeared painting Bezos as paranoid, unstable at a private investor dinner. Sources claimed his hands shook, his voice faltered. Whispers spread that the great strategist was losing his touch, while Lauren appeared radiant, unshaken, stepping out of limousines at Hollywood galas. Her confidence a deliberate contrast to his visible unraveling. Meanwhile, the legal battle grew darker. Rumors of financial trails appeared, whispers of offshore accounts of encrypted calls and suspicious meetings on 3 continents. Names of financiers from London, Dubai, and Tokyo floated through the air, and every whisper added another layer to the mystery. Was Lauren truly acting alone? Or was she a piece in a much larger game designed to weaken Bezos from the inside? Friends close to Jeff described nights of paranoia. He believed he was surrounded by betrayal, not just from Lauren, but from unseen forces. He reportedly told his legal team, "She is not fighting alone. There are others behind her. We must expose them at all costs." This obsession turned into action. Insiders claim he began pulling on connections few men possess, reaching out to former intelligence specialists, men skilled in encryption, surveillance, and counter-espionage. The line between legal defense and covert operation began to blur for Lauren. The battle shifted. To psychology, she allegedly whispered doubts into elite social circles, hinting at Bezos' weaknesses, his insecurities, his volatile temper. Not openly, but through subtle suggestion at dinner parties and charity galas. She painted him as a man spiraling out of control, and every defensive move he made seemed only to confirm her portrait. This was no longer just a breakup, it was transformation. The woman once seen as a passenger in Jeff Bezos' life had become his greatest rival, a strategist in her own right, shifting from partner to opponent, from love to calculated adversary. And the stakes were nothing less than control over one of the most powerful empires in the world. The question looming was simple: who would break first? Would Jeff Bezos? unleash the full weight of his fortune, his intelligence contacts his legal team to crush Lauren. Or with Lauren backed by whispers, influence and hidden allies continue to turn the tide against the man once considered untouchable. Insiders warned that the final chapter had not yet been written, and in this high-stakes game of love, power, and betrayal, the most dangerous moves were still to come. The final act of this unfolding saga arrived not with headlines, but with whispers from behind locked doors. Jeff Bezos, no longer the unshakable titan, but a man cornered, had gathered what he believed was the ultimate weapon evidence collected through secret investigations files, recordings, and photographs, each one pointing to Lauren Sánchez and the alleged network behind her. For weeks, insiders say he prepared for the confrontation, the moment where masks would be stripped away. The setting was his Medina estate, once a symbol of love and power, now transformed into a battlefield just after midnight. Bezos entered the room, documents in hand, his face marked by exhaustion and fury. Lauren sat calm, her posture unbroken, sipping a glass of wine. The silence between them was heavy. Then the storm broke. Bezos laid the evidence before her: transaction trails, encrypted calls, meetings in London, Dubai, Tokyo. Each page a piece of the puzzle, each page an accusation. His voice cracked as he demanded answers. 3 billion gone alliances with rivals, whispers of betrayal at the highest level. For a moment, Lauren did not flinch, her stare unwavering. She accused him of paranoia, of losing touch with reality, of letting fear consume his judgment. But as the files grew darker with every revelation, bank records, transfers, secret conversations, her composure began to shift. Insiders claimed the mask cracked, and then came the whispered confession. Lauren revealed that she had been approached by a coalition of powerful interests, rivals of Bezos, former executives, foreign players, all promising wealth and influence. If she would help destabilize the empire from within, it was not only about money, it was about striking a blow at a system she described as too powerful, too controlling. She had played her role carefully, waiting for the moment to act. But the confrontation did not end there, for Lauren too had prepared her own weapon. In the shadows, she had been recording everything, including Bezos himself, his admission of secret surveillance, his reliance on intelligence-style tactics, actions that stretched far beyond legal boundaries. She held the recording like a final card and presented him with an ultimatum. Any attempt to destroy her would also destroy him. Any step against her would hand the evidence to federal prosecutors. And in that moment, the tables turned. The man once known for absolute control found himself trapped in a chess game where every move led to his own downfall. Bezos cornered Lauren unbroken, both locked in a stalemate. Insiders say the silence that followed was heavier than any outburst. Two players, both victors and victims, both betrayers, and betrayed. The world outside saw only fragments. Bezos weary and slumped as cameras caught him exiting meetings. Lauren radiant, stepping into limousines with calm defiance. But behind those images was a truth known only to them, a war that had no clear winner. Only scars. A love story transformed into a battlefield, and an empire shaken to its core. And as whispers continue, some ask if this story has truly ended. Because in Hollywood and on Wall Street, nothing ever really ends. The moves continue in silence, and the richest man alive may still be fighting, not only for his legacy, but for the survival of everything he built. And perhaps for the first time, Jeff Bezos has met an opponent he cannot simply by defeat or control. And that opponent is the woman he once loved most. At the end of the day, Hollywood isn't just about glamour and red carpets. It's about power, secrets, and the scandals that often stay hidden until the truth forces its way into the spotlight. Whether it's courtroom drama, relationship, chaos, or behind-the-scenes deals, one thing is certain: the story never ends here. And as always, we'll be watching, digging, and uncovering the pieces others try to keep buried.